because Sam Harris, even though he's huge, and Richard Dawkins, the I think based on the YouTube algorithms of the controversy and everything else, Matt's show comes up with, I think YouTube tends to recommend it first, and then once I started looking into that, then it started recommending all the other the Sam Harris and Hitchens and everybody else. And actually, I don't know who the fourth horseman is in that.
Daniel Dennett.
Yeah. I even downloaded a couple of his books recently. So
I just hope that for the audience's sake, since these names were brought up, I hope that no one is venerating or idolizing any of these people, because they all have their own flaws.
Absolutely.
They're human beings. Sometimes they make great points and they articulate their positions very well at times, but they may not be perfect people. So I just hope the atheist community, or people who identify themselves, are not venerating these people as the gods of atheism who can do no wrong.
Right. So the one of the best things about learning to be an atheist or getting away from religion is you stop venerating to anybody or anything. You no longer consider anybody godlike, unless it's LeBron James, right? So you can tell I'm a huge LeBron fan.
Simone Biles.
Simone Biles. Yeah. So
go on.
So you, unless it's an athlete, you tend to not to put anybody in that tier, and that there are no holy men, and especially in India, there's a lot of holy men concept. And one of the good things, I guess, about Christianity is that the Pope is not considered to be a god, but in Hinduism, everything can turn into a god. That's one of the problems. Any holy man comes and says, "I'm the reincarnation of Vishnu or something, or some other god," boom, it's done. So
I would say that is probably from a technical standpoint. Of course, you are correct, but the reality, the history of it seems to have taught us that can happen in Christianity as well. You mentioned that the Pope, they don't claim that he's a god, but he is certainly treated that way by many Catholics, and
right.
Even outside of the Catholic Church, when you look at a lot of the Protestant denominations, they have their own, cult-like figures. There's offshoots of Christianity, the LDS Church, where you have Joseph Smith, and they don't call them gods,
right.
But they act like they're gods,
Right. And the only reason I said that, because I've seen the Pope come out and say things in favor of LGBTQ and in favor of racism. Yes,
you're talking Pope Francis,
right? And the politics of it is so strong that they would take Trump over the Pope. So that's why, I felt like the Pope still doesn't have as much sway as a godman would have in India.
Well, Trump almost has godlike power in the United States for some people.
True, but they still don't think of him as God. They'll say he's sent by God, right?
I think that they say that. They say that because most of them, it's kind of a state of cognitive dissonance, because most of the people in this country that support him also claim to be Christians, right? And according to the Christian Bible, there is but one God. So they have to say that in accordance with the first religion. But the second religion they adopted, which is MAGA, or the Trump cult, is in conflict with that idea. So they will treat and venerate Trump as though he is God, while still saying that Jesus is God. But they're still, acting like Trump is God at the same time. It's just a bit of cognitive dissonance there, from my observation. Not all of them, but most of them.
Right. So, going back to your question, I started doing the research and went to a podcast rabbit hole, YouTube rabbit hole, and books, and the God delusion, and so on and on. I just tried to consume as much as possible before making a judgment, and I just could not find any evidence of even as flimsy as my belief was already in a supernatural power, that also dissipated pretty fast, as I heard theist after theist trying to twist their whole existence, trying to come up with some kind of thing. And then I started going back to my own roots and watching things that I used to believe, and I just could not reconcile with them, because I had not thought about those things for a very long time. And but So I had literally not given it any thought. But once I got into this line of thought and started researching, then I started revisiting my own thoughts about God and religion and everything else, and I just could not reconcile with any of those things. And even when I was growing up, I could not accept what people would accept, in the sense that the majority of Hinduism is superstition and pseudosciences.
Obviously, you say you disagree with the caste system. That's a pretty obvious one. But are there other examples of things that you want to disassociate from with the Hindu? I want to call it religion.
Right.
I'm going to be honest, but
what are the harms of Hinduism besides the caste system?
Yeah, that's fair way to put it.
Right. It's you have to pick and choose. There's a lot of different things that came out of different parts, and it's the Hindu. I don't know if it's just the religion. There's a large part of the Hindu culture, the way Hindu has become today, in terms of us versus them, uh, against minorities, race baiting, religious intolerance. So the original tenets of Hinduism are gone, right? It's not there anymore. And people don't really treat it as a way of life anymore. It has become a very radicalized cult.
If they did, would that make it more appealing as a philosophy to you? Like you yourself, would you take the Hindu philosophy in its purest form, whatever that means to you?
Yes, there are some schools of Hinduism that I agree with. I have a more materialistic view, which is one of the schools of thought, Charvaka philosophy, where it talks about what you cannot see. It's about materialism. Generally gets a bad name because we think of materialism as just money and pleasure and that stuff. But it's
wrong context,
right? So it also could mean what you know. Appeals to the senses. You don't believe in anything that's beyond what can be proven and seen and touched and heard. You don't believe spirituality is all the woo woo stuff is all fine. God is in within me is fine. But why do you have to call it God? Why do have this beauty? I see God in a baby's eyes. I see God in the ocean. So why just call it beauty? Just call it nature. You can enjoy a child's smile or a puppy's barking, or you can enjoy every scene, or the trees.
Caleb is enjoying all of that tonight.
And yeah. Yeah, one of the episodes I got really mad in my podcast, because I had been watching, I'd been discussing these things with my cousin and my friends, and the general idea was I feel safe with because God is on my side. I feel he's protecting my kids. And I got so pissed off after having all these different things. And one of my latest podcast episode is called "Thanks Stupid Luck, Not God." And it goes in, I talk about, thanks stupid luck that you were not born as this Muslim woman under Sharia law. Because one of the videos that triggered me was, there's a video of in Afghanistan, I believe, a woman in the middle of a huge village in public, is flogging with a man just repeatedly beating her brutally, and she's fully covered, and she screams with every whip. She screams Allah's name. And so where's God? Where's he keeping this woman safe, who's literally chanting his name, right? And where were all these people? In India, one of the things that came out of Hinduism is a system called sati, SATI, where the wife was burned. If the husband died, the wife was burned alive on his pyre, right? And they literally made her sit on it, and she was burnt alive, because she was supposed to be loyal to him. And when he ends, his life ends, her life is supposed to end. This is hundreds of over 100 years ago. probably not even 170, 1960s, 70s. It was still there. Can you
Why
believe
would they
that?
burn her though? Even if they thought that she should die, why would they kill her that way?
I don't know. That's part of part of she needs to be purified along with her husband, kind of thing.
Wow.
Burning. So literally, one of the people had to pass a law making it legal for it to stop, and then I'm pretty sure even after that 10 years it probably 10, 15 years it probably continued. So we're talking in 1980s, it was still a system where women were buried alive, not buried but burnt alive with their dead husbands bodies. So a lot of it has comes out of ignorance and poverty and lack of education, lack of resources, extreme uneducation, easily manipulated people, where anybody can just rise up one day and say I'm a rebirth of Vishnu or Krishna or Rama, and he can follow, create a cult like following, and an insane number of superstitions. So there's just so much, and all of this has
With the exception of that last part, in my opinion, you described every religion.
true, true.
But go on.
Yeah, exactly. That is why I more than Hinduism as a way of life, I'm rejecting what Hinduism has become, over the last 50, 80, 100 years. The way it has been co-opted by radical people, and the caste system is very much alive and healthy, and very prevalent, especially in villages, because India is majority, is villages and rural areas. So there's still Dalits who are refused entries into temple. They're beaten, they're brutalized, the women are raped, and they're not given education. They're not allowed into schools. They're not. It's literally Jim Crow era, and the racial, slavery of the Americas.